One life is not enough. Written by Shri K. Natwar Singh. Part 26. My years in Zambia. It was not until 1977, after Morarji Desai had become Prime Minister, that his not so benign shadow crossed my professional path. At the time, I was Deputy High Commissioner in London. A top secret telegram arrived on 24th March 1977 telling the High Commissioner Shri B.K. Nehru that I should immediately be asked to proceed on leave and hand over charge. This entailed considerable upheaval for my wife and our two children. In June, the Commonwealth Summit was held in London and Morarji Desai decided to attend. He stayed with Indira Gandhi's cousin Shri B.K. Nehru at 9 Kensington Palace Gardens, one of the most elegant addresses in London. This surprised me. B.K. Nehru, like me, had defended the emergency. I learnt that as soon as Morarji Desai took over as Prime Minister, Fori Nehru, that is, B.K. Nehru's wife, had written him ingratiating letters. Mrs. Gandhi was livid when she learnt that her second cousin was playing host to her principal political opponent. As I was on compulsory leave, I kept out of the way of the Prime Minister. One evening, I got a telephone call from B.K. Nehru telling me that the Prime Minister wished to see the High Commissioner's discretionary grant register. Important diplomatic posts have such funds at their disposal, and I, as Deputy High Commissioner, had charge of the discretionary grant. B.K. Nehru asked me how much of the grant we had utilized in the past 1 year and how much was sanctioned by the government. I told him to send for the grant register and show it to Morarji Desai. The amount sanctioned was £5,000, of which £500 had been utilized. The rest had been surrendered. I was later told that the Prime Minister was quite beside himself on hearing this and accused me of hiding facts. He had apparently been told by some of his admirers in London that Mrs. Gandhi was in direct touch with me and vast amounts of foreign currency were sent by diplomatic bag to me. In retrospect, this sounds farcical and fanciful. It was not so pleasant at the time. Obviously, Morarji Desai had not the vaguest idea of what a diplomatic bag contained. Diplomatic bags are not used to smuggle currency. Category A diplomatic bags are used to send secret dispatches, confidential records, and the like, while Category B and C bags carry newspapers and other unimportant items. No cash can be included in these bags. The bags are opened under the supervision of a first secretary. Since Morarji Desai could not prove his claim, he calmed down. Some weeks after Morarji Desai was sworn in as Prime Minister, I was posted as High Commissioner to Zambia. In the Janata establishment, all African countries were considered punishment postings. Had Morarji Desai been aware that I knew President Kenneth Kaunda rather well since 1962, he would have posted me elsewhere. I got to know Mr. Kaunda when he appeared as petitioner before the Decolonization Committee in New York, and I was the rapporteur of the committee. We left London on 10th August 1977, arriving in Lusaka the next morning after a 10-hour flight. I had been to Lusaka twice, but this was my wife's first exposure to the African continent, and our two children, Jagat and Ritu, were 9 and 7 years old then. We sent them both to boarding schools in India. Lusaka was a leisurely place with an amazing climate. Zambia at the time was the frontline state against the apartheid regime in South Africa and the Ian Smith government in southern Rhodesia. It was a hospitable destination for exiled Southern African freedom fighters. The leaders of the African National Congress ANC of South Africa, the Zimbabwe African People's Union ZAPU JAPU, and the Southwest Africa People's Organization SWAPO SWAPO spent most of the time in Lusaka. I got to know and admire them. They were fighting against heavy odds. The Western democracies were supporting the racist South Africa and the Ian Smith regimes. He proclaimed that not in 1,000 years would southern Rhodesia have elections on the principle of one man, one vote. In fact, it was all over for Ian Smith by April 1980. South Africa had to wait for another 10 years to put an end to apartheid. Nelson Mandela was released on 10th February 1990. That day, Africa changed. I was also accredited to Botswana, led by President Seretse Khama. In 1950, Sir Seretse Khama married an English girl while at Oxford, and this became a cause célèbre. The British government opposed his marriage, and his uncle, the chief of Botswana, disowned him. Sir Seretse Khama did not bend or bow. After 10 years, he made a triumphant return to Gaborone, the capital of Botswana. President Kaunda of Zambia was deeply religious, happily married, and hero worshipped Mahatma Gandhi. He was a genuine friend of India. He and Indira Gandhi had a close relationship. When Indira Gandhi lost the 1977 elections, President Kaunda said to me, Natwar, Indira has lost the elections. She has not lost my friendship. Tell her so in whatever way you can. Kaunda had an Indian guru, Ranganathan, who had come to Zambia as a teacher. Ranganathan had a remarkable facility. He could describe future events with astonishing accuracy, and Kaunda consulted him before taking decisions of vital national interest. Thanks to Ranganathan, I was the best informed diplomat in Zambia and could also meet the president at short notice. No other head of mission had this privilege. Morarji Desai had no notion of what was happening in South Africa, southern Rhodesia, and Namibia. Neither did he personally know the leading luminaries of Africa south of the Sahara. He made no effort to get to know them either. Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and Rajiv Gandhi, on the other hand, knew many of them personally. African leaders looked up to India and held Gandhiji, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Indira in high esteem. A few months after my arrival, I wrote to the Ministry of External Affairs that Joshua Nakomo wished to visit India. He would be accompanied by three senior leaders of JAPU. He asked for first class air tickets from Lusaka to Nairobi and to New Delhi. I assured him that this wish would be respected. Such invitations do not involve any policy decisions. We were spending millions on humanitarian assistance to almost all freedom movements in Africa. Four first class air passages would be no burden on the ministry's budget. The response from the ministry was as unexpected as it was wooden headed. The government would sanction first class air travel only for Joshua Nkomo. His colleagues would be given economy class air tickets. I sent a coded telegram to the head of African division in the ministry conveying my views on treating a popular and courageous leader in this demeaning manner. I also injected a bon mot as a teaser. Having swallowed camels, we are now straining at gnats. My telegram was shown to Prime Minister Morarji Desai by the Foreign Secretary. The Prime Minister, who probably did not understand the phrase, remarked that I was being impertinent and disobedient. I told Nkomo that the present time was not suitable for the Indian government to receive him. Perhaps later, mutually convenient dates could be worked out. What else could I tell him? He was too seasoned a man not to see through my diplomatics. In February 1978, I came home on a leave for 2 months. I naturally met Mrs. Gandhi and gave her President Konda's and Nkomo's greetings. I was shadowed by the IB when I went to meet her at her new residence at Willingdon Crescent. During my absence from Lusaka, Prime Minister Mainja Chona of Zambia wrote a long letter to the Times of London about the ill treatment of Mrs. Gandhi by the Morarji Desai government. The matter was taken up in Parliament. Although I had nothing whatsoever to do with the Zambian Prime Minister's letter, Prime Minister Morarji Desai linked my name with the Zambian Prime Minister's letter. The clamour soon died down, however. On my return from leave, an unpleasant gift from Morarji Desai awaited me. During my leave, President Konda had written to Prime Minister Desai regarding the crisis that was unfolding in southern Africa with particular reference to southern Rhodesia. He concluded his letter with an exceptionally generous reference to me. Finally, and on a different subject, may I say, as a mark of sincere appreciation, your new envoy to Zambia, His Excellency High Commissioner K. Nator Singh, is setting down very well. I am very pleased with his rare political insight and the fast speed at which he is clearly grasping the complexities of the current Southern African crisis. I must say, I was somewhat apprehensive when I heard you were taking out your previous High Commissioner, a man I had found to be very wiser and capable. I did not, of course, know the replacement you were going to send us. To my great satisfaction and surprise, you have just sent us the right man. As it happens, I have known His Excellency Mr. K. Natar Singh since the days of Zambia's struggle for independence. While he was at the UN, he was extremely helpful to me when I had to present Zambia's case for independence to the United Nations in 1962. You could certainly not have picked a better person as your envoy in this region at this time of complicated liberation issues in Rhodesia. Prime Minister Desai, in his reply, had to say this. I have read with interest your views regarding our new High Commissioner. I hope that Nator Singh comes up to your expectations. He has been keeping us informed of the developments in South Africa. I felt that the Prime Minister had let his High Commissioner down. On 15th May 1978, I wrote to him, Dear Prime Minister, on my return to Lusaka, I saw your reply to President Konda's letter of 18/12/1977. The President referred to my work in generous terms. Normally, government should have welcomed this. The extreme austerity of your reply must make my task in Lusaka infinitely more difficult. I am sure it was not your intention to belittle or undermine the position of your High Commissioner in Zambia, but such an inference can be drawn and is being drawn. This is not a personal matter. Having been called a distinguished and trusted citizen of India in my letters of credence, I continue to hope that I have your fullest trust and confidence, without which no diplomatic agent can discharge his duties and responsibilities. The Prime Minister replied on 23rd May 1978. Dear Nator Singh, please refer to your letter number HC 378 of May 15, 1978. I am surprised that you should attach so much importance to certificates from foreign dignitaries. They are entitled to their opinion as we are entitled to ours, and they cannot expect us always to endorse their opinions without any reservation. I do not see why anything that I wrote in my reply to President Konda's letter should embarrass you in the discharge of your duties. You are needlessly sensitive about this matter, and I am wondering how this sensitiveness fits in with the discharge of your duties as High Commissioner. There can be no question of lack of trust and confidence in representatives in a foreign country. If there were any such lack of confidence or trust, they would not be there. Yours sincerely, Morarji Desai. I had some friends in the ministry who kept me informed of the sordid state of affairs. Those who had crawled before Indira Gandhi when she was Prime Minister were now abusing her and prostrating before Morarji Desai. I also learned that my telegrams and letters to the Prime Minister were taken as acts of willful insubordination, which they indeed were. My reply to Morarji Desai's letter on 1st June 1978 was sufficiently insolent to annoy him. Dear Prime Minister, I am most grateful to you for your prompt reply to my letter of May 15th. Parts of your letter do grave injustice to me. Constituted as I am, I cannot but respond. I do so with the utmost humility and respect. I completed 25 years in the Indian Foreign Service on 14/4/1978. 5 of these were spent on the staff of a great Prime Minister. It is for this that I have been singled out for special treatment. But I cannot and will not deny my past. During these 2.5 decades, I have never needed nor sought certificates from anyone. I would consider such activity contemptible and degrading. However, when the distinguished head of a state of a friendly country speaks well of your representative in his capital, the least we can do is to thank him for it. You will, sir, agree with me that President Konda is not just any foreign dignitary. He has presided over the destiny of his country and people for 14 years. A somewhat longer tenure at the helm compared to some other heads of government. In your letter, you say that I am being needlessly sensitive. Sensitivity is an attribute of refinement of character. Finally, Prime Minister, I am comforted to learn that I do have the confidence and trust of the government over which you preside. With respects. I received no reply. I did not expect one. The only result was denial of promotion. Thank you for listening. Now some of the words and their meanings. I learned that as soon as Morarji Desai took over as Prime Minister, Fori Nehru, that is, B.K. Nehru's wife, had written him ingratiating letters. Ingratiating. Ingratiating means intended to gain approval or favor. I was later told that the Prime Minister was quite beside himself on hearing this and accused me of hiding facts. Beside himself means overcome with worry, grief, or anger. I was also accredited to Botswana, led by the President Celeste Khama. ACCRGDITED accredited means officially accepted as being of a particular standard. In 1950, Sir Celeste Khama married an English girl while at Oxford, and this became a cause célèbre. CAUSE, cause CELEBRE, célèbre. Cause célèbre means a controversial issue that attracts a great deal of public attention. The response from the ministry was as unexpected as it was wooden headed. Wooden headed means stupid. I also injected a bon mot as a teaser. Having swallowed camels, we are now straining at gnats. Bon mot, BONMOT. Bon mot means a clever, witty remark. Thank you for listening.